going on, people? LP2000, my back at you with another video. Yes, welcome back to Leslie Chambers Kaiju Reviews on behalf of Summit Kaiju, and welcome back to another edition of this series that I like to call X Plus Setups. And yes, if you're unfamiliar with X Plus Setups, X Plus Setups is it's a video series that I'm doing where I take random figures from my collection and put them all together to create setups from that particular movie that each of those figures, at least those kaijus, were in. And for the past, like, say, 5 or 6 months, I've done Godzilla vs. Gigan, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Destroy All Monsters, and today we're doing another amazing and glorious setup. Glorious! To, yes, one of the best Godzilla films out there. The final great Godzilla film that closed out the illustrious, amazing, and awesome Showa Godzilla film series, 1975's Terror of Mechagodzilla. And as you can see, I have the entire lineup here, all in a 30cm scale from X Plus, with the X Plus 30cm Godzilla 1975, the X Plus 30cm Mechagodzilla 1975 Ric Exclusive edition, as well as the standard edition of the 30cm Titanosaurus. And as you can see, they look all great together. All three of them look awesome together. Now, they did make all three of these same monsters in the 25cm scale from X Plus. And this is like one of the very few movies where X Plus has done the complete monster lineup in both the 30cm and 25cm scales. Godzilla Raids Again, you know, is also done in the 25cm scale. Well, I might as well say the 54 Godzilla, because they got a 30cm as well as a 25cm. As well as Sakai, Godzilla 1984, you know, 25cm, 30cm, whatever. But this is like the first where you have like more than 2 monsters, 3 monsters, which presents more of a melee brawl, which is kind of like how it was in the film. The first film and only film where you have like multiple monsters other than 2 or 1 represented in both the 25cm scale and 30cm scale figures from X Plus. So I think that's awesome. Now, between the two, I actually prefer the 30cm better. You know, I prefer the bigger figures. Nothing against the 25, you know, but it's just something about the 30cm scale version of these figures that I really enjoy. A couple reasons why I'm doing this is, for one, I love this film. I really do. I've been watching it a lot more lately, you know what I mean? Just going back and watching it, because it really is a great film to go back and watch. And another reason why I'm doing this, because recently my good friend Kyle Yount from the Kaiju Cast, yes, the best podcast dedicated to Godzilla and all his rubber-suited foes, yes, the best podcast devoted to Godzilla, Tokusatsu, Kaijus, or whatever, the Kaiju Cast, he recently did a rediscussion of this film. Now, he has done a discussion of this film like a long time ago, early on in the podcast, I believe, a few years ago, 2013 or whatever. I don't know the exact date or year, but I do know that he has done this discussion before, and now he's going back and doing a rediscussion of past films that he has covered, like this one, Terror of Mechagodzilla. I know he's done Godzilla vs. Gigan, Godzilla vs. Biollante, I believe Godzilla vs. Hedra, Gamera 2, The Advent of Legion. Yes, so he's going back and doing a rediscussion or reassessment of these films, and they have been highly entertaining. So I highly suggest you hit up the podcast of the Kaiju Cast. This episode in particular, I believe, is 246. It just recently got uploaded, I think, October 1st. And it really is a stunning and just amazing discussion devoted to this awesome film. So please check it out. You will not be disappointed. Kaiju Cast, episode 246, I believe, devoted to rediscussion of Terror of Mechagodzilla. And yes, you know how we do things around here when it comes to X Plus setups. Let's go down the lineup and talk about stats about the figure, release dates, or whatever. And I'll talk about how I got my hands on them. You know what I mean? So which one should I start with first? They're all three of them are awesome, so it's kind of hard to start to pick which one to start with. So I will probably start with let's start with Titanosaurus. Yes, the 30cm Titanosaurus from X Plus. Not recently. What am I talking about? I got this late in 2012. As a matter of fact, this was my second figure acquisition as far as X Plus is concerned. Everybody knows my first was the 30cm in 1984. This was my first. Thank you to Mr. Richard Eso and his fresh vinyl review of this. This what got me into X Plus. And my second was actually the 30 centimeter Titanosaurus. I got it as a birthday gift from my wife Sandra, so thank you very much. I love you, babe. And actually it was the Ric. It came with the mini sub, you know, the mini sub that we see twice in the film. One that gets attacked by Titanosaurus in the beginning and one that gets chased by Titanosaurus later on. It came with a little mini sub for that. I didn't really care for the sub, so I gave it to a great friend of mine, Burley Vang, and that's how him and I have become great friends to this day. Still great friends, almost family. So a lot of great things came from me getting this release. Besides my wife getting it for me, it allowed me to establish a great friendship with Burley Vang. So it's awesome, you know. It first came out 2012. I don't remember what date, what month it came out, but it came out 2012. It was released just Titanosaurus without the sub. It was reissued through Diamond. I want to say early 2016. So that's the stats of this figure, and that's how I got my hands on it. And between the two, because they also made a 25 centimeter Titanosaurus, and to me, I just like this one better. I like the colors on this one better. They pop out more with this one. It may not be suit accurate what we saw on film, but for some reason, I just prefer this one better. It really is a nice representation, near perfect representation of Titanosaurus. One of the best kaijus ever in the Godzilla franchise. One of my favorites from the 70s. Now, let's talk about the king of the monsters. Let's talk about Godzilla. Yes, this is the 30 centimeter Godzilla 1975 Standard Edition. Yes, it just got released just last year, 2017, I want to say September, the same month that we saw the release of the gigantic Shin Godzilla. So yes, that was a fun month. Yeah, it was a fun month. And this is a monumental release for a couple of reasons. For one, this was the final piece to be completed to finish the 30 centimeter lineup for this film. Up until Godzilla's release in the 30, we already had a 30 of the Mechagodzilla and the Titanosaurus, but this was the final component, the final missing and probably the most vital component to complete this awesome setup. This is the standard, like I said. The Ric Boy came with the severed Mechagodzilla head, you know. And the reason why I didn't go for the standard because of my Ric Mechagodzilla, but we'll talk about that in a few seconds. But also what is monumental about this release is the fact that this is the only 30 centimeter 70s Godzilla that S Plus has ever done. And even though I've heard a lot of folks, at least some folks, say that, you know, they don't particularly care how this Godzilla look for the 75, they don't really feel that it's truly super accurate. In my opinion, it is to a certain extent. Now, it's not perfect, don't get me wrong, but I think it's probably up to maybe 75% accurate, maybe 80 if you want to give it that. The only issue I may have with the figure is the fact that he's a little bit bigger than what he should be, in my opinion, because in the film, Godzilla was really the smaller of the three monsters. I won't say smaller, but he was like the shortest of the three. Now, as you can see right here, he comes head to head with Mechagodzilla. That's not how it was in the film, at least for what I've seen. He comes just a hair shorter. You know, he's not smaller in comparison to Mechagodzilla like as he was to Hedra. You know what I mean? He wasn't that small, but he should be just a little bit shorter. But other than that, this really is a great piece. It's a great piece of the 1975 Godzilla, and it's one step forward. I think positive step forward to getting other 30 centimeter 70s Godzillas, because only ones we got so far from the 25 centimeter scale, the 25 centimeter 71, the 25 centimeter 73, and also the 25 centimeter 75. But we have nothing from either scale from 74 or 72. And honestly, a case can be made why we should and we probably could get a 30 centimeter Godzilla from each one of those films, because we got a 30 centimeter Hedra, a 30 centimeter 71 would go great with that. We got a 30 centimeter 72 Gigan, a 30 centimeter 72 Godzilla would go great with him. You know, don't get me started on Megalon, you know, because since we already got recently the 30 centimeter Jet Jaguar, I'm willing to bet money that for sure we're going to get a 30 centimeter 73 Godzilla. And for our 74, once again, that is like, in my opinion, one of the most sought after Godzilla designs that X Plus needs to do. They need to make a 74, and they already have a 30 centimeter Mechagodzilla 1974. You know, it would be great if they make a 30 centimeter King Caesar 2, 74, not the travesty of 2004 King Caesar. I'm talking about the original Showa Real Deal King Caesar. So once again, a case can be made to why they're should be a 30cm 70s Godzilla for each one of those films to complete every one of those setups. Hopefully S Plus will get that down, get that to us real soon. As far as the 75 Godzilla, he looks really, really amazing. I love it. It's like, when I see this figure, I'm enjoying it more and more and more as I look at him. You know, despite my issues with his height and maybe his gums are really oversaturated with red, you know, because the only red in his mouth as far as the suit goes in the film was his tongue. He didn't have an oversaturation of red in his gums like, let's say, the 68 or the 69 or the 71 or whatever. But aside from that, it's a great, 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 great piece. And as you can see, he looks awesome with his other two Terra Mechagodzilla counterparts. And speaking of Terra Mechagodzilla, let's talk about the Kaiju of the hour, the Kaiju at hand, the villain, or at least the Kaiju the film is focused on, 1975's Mechagodzilla from S Plus, the 30cm. And yes, this is the Ric version. Yes, it comes with light up eyes, and it also comes with the brain apparatus that you can exchange out of his head. Now, I don't want to do that now because this is a great piece, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a hassle to pull off the head and then install the brain apparatus, you know, to exchange it. The light still works, you know, knock on wood. It has not burnt out on me yet. And I don't really like exchanging the head because, like I said, it is a hassle. You know, there's some effort required, you know, to put it in. And it's not as simple as like popping it out and pop it in like the new 25cm Gargantua's alternate limbs. You know, it's not like that. The plug is kind of like, it's kind of snug, it's kind of tight. And I don't like exchanging the heads as much as I can because I don't want to damage it. I don't want to damage the lighting apparatus or whatever when I exchange them too much. I don't want to do that. So I rarely do it. The only time I really do it is like if I want to take pictures or provide video inserts like what you'll see in this video. But other than that, this really is a great, 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 great piece. It came out August of 2016. The original Mechagodzilla 1975 30cm. Both Ric and Standard originally came out August of 2016. I got it through a great friend, Jay Davies. Thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. And it was reissued through Diamond, I want to say late last year, October 2017. It came without the brain apparatus. You know, it's just Mechagodzilla, no lights, no nothing. So this is a great, great representation of Mechagodzilla 1975. And I have to say, this is my favorite version of Mechagodzilla. You know, I love this look of Mechagodzilla. This is my favorite look of the Mechagodzilla robot. You know, nothing against 74, nothing against 93, nothing against the two Kiryus. And certainly that abomination that we saw on the anime films. To me, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. This is my favorite version of Mechagodzilla, and I've said this many times before, even though I'm not too impressed with his performance, which I'll talk about later on, if it were up to me to make the perfect Mechagodzilla, I would combine the look of 75 with the performance of 74 to create the ultimate Mechagodzilla Kaiju. That's what I would do. But as far as like looks is concerned, I prefer the look of the 1975 Godzilla, you know. And I forgot to mention how I got this 75 Godzilla. I got this through Hobby Search. And once again, I got this through Jay Davies. And so that's how I got my hands on this figure. Once again, it comes with a brain apparatus for this. And honestly, I'm not particularly fond of the brain apparatus, you know. It looks good, and I'm glad to have it. You know what I mean? Like I always say, it's better to have it, not need it, versus need it, not have it. But I'm not really a big fan of it. You know, I wasn't really a big fan of it in the film, honestly. I don't like that look. I prefer him having this look of the head, the menacing eyes, you know, just the overall look of Mechagodzilla. To me, he looks more sinister in 75 than he did in 74, which is one of the reasons why I love Mechagodzilla 75 the best, you know, as far as looks. So just overall, really. My favorite version of Mechagodzilla is the Showa versions, but in particularly, I love 75 the most. And that's how I got my hands on these figures. And as you can see, they look great together, and it's reminiscent of what we basically saw on film. You got a little 2-on-1 action, right? Two of them against Godzilla goes out. Godzilla goes out in a blaze of glory, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much how I got my hands on these figures, and that's the stats of it. And now we can talk about my thoughts of Terra Mechagodzilla. And before I go into Terra Mechagodzilla, my thoughts of it, I should say, I want to tell y'all a little story on how I was exposed to this film for the first time. And let me give a huge shout out to Godzilla fan freaks, Eric Grandin. Yes, I hope you're watching, good sir. I hope you're doing well out there in Arizona. I know this is his favorite Godzilla film of all time, and I know Titanosaurus is his favorite kaiju. I think he likes him more than Godzilla himself. So I want to give you a huge shout out to him. Please go check out his channel, Godzilla Fan Freaks. You will not be disappointed. Great reviews, just a great guy. So go to his YouTube channel, Godzilla Fan Freaks. But I was first exposed to this film back in, I want to say 1991. Yes, almost 30 years, going on 30 years, 27 to be exact. But I'm gonna try and be brief with the story, but it's a really interesting one, honestly. When I was in high school, because that was the year that I first went to high school. I was a freshman in high school, and I was part of the band. And West Carteret High School, yeah, if you're watching, represent West Carteret High School. And we took a trip to Chicago. Yes, we took a trip to Chicago because we were going to be on national television for a parade. I think it was the Bronx Christmas Parade, Bronx Candy Christmas Parade. And we got invited to come up to Chicago. And we were staying at this hotel near Lake Erie. I think it's a lake up there. Mind you, we went up there, I want to say late November going into December. It was cold. It was really cold, but the point was we stayed at this hotel, and obviously we didn't go up there just to go to do the parade and come right back. You know, especially coming from where I live, or at least where I used to live, here in North Carolina. So we stayed up there for at least a few days. I want to say at least 4 to 5 days, a good part of a week. And they gave us strict instructions, the band director did, like, no matter what you do, like, you can do certain things around the hotel, but if you happen to leave the hotel, make sure that you have somebody with you, right? And mind you, while we did a parade, you know, I used to play bass drum, right? So I'm doing my thing, but at the same time, I'm also looking around at the city because I've never been to Chicago before at that point. Now I've been since then because of G-Fest or whatever, but that was my first time going to Chicago, and I was just really, even though I was excited of being a band, being on television, I was just more excited seeing all the buildings around me. And as we were going through the route, I happened to catch a video store like in my peripheral vision. Now, mind you, the store wasn't that far from the hotel, but it wasn't near there either. So after we got finished with the parade, I went back and I got some clothes together. I put some clothes on, and I wanted my roommate to go with me because, like I said, the band director said, under no circumstance, if you leave the hotel, make sure you have somebody with you. Do not go outside of this hotel. Don't go into Chicago by yourself. But I tried to get my roommate to come with me. He didn't want to come. So I ended up going to that video store. And what did I find when I got in that video store? I saw a copy of Terror of Mechagodzilla. Now, mind you, I didn't know the Terror of Mechagodzilla film even existed until I got my VHS copy of Godzilla vs. Mothra, or as we know now, Mothra vs. Godzilla. And after you watch the film on the tape, at the tail end of the tape, they showed like 3 trailers of Godzilla films that was going to be distributed through that particular company that made that tape, right? And one of the trailers was Terror of Mechagodzilla, which showed some snippets of the final fight scene. That was my first exposure to this film. So when I went into the store, now mind you, I didn't go into the store thinking I was going to find it, you know what I mean? It just happened to be there, you know what I mean? And I was just so excited. So that was probably like one of my first holy grails, honestly. Before I got into collecting with figures and posters and all that good stuff, that was probably my very, very first holy grail, because I never expected to come across that tape of Terror of Mechagodzilla. Because once again, I'm from a small town, North Carolina, and my access to Godzilla films was very, 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 very limited. So me finding that tape was awesome. And then once we came back, now mind you, we came back and we got back to the school like around 8 o'clock that morning. And I thought that because we got back so early that they were going to make us go to school that day. But they understood that we were tired from being on the road all night, and they let us go home. And when I got home, I popped in this tape of Terror of Mechagodzilla, and I watched it, and I loved it. And that's my first exposure to Terror of Mechagodzilla. And ever since then, it's like I liked it then, but as an adult looking back on it now, I love it more now. It's like I love it more each time that I watch it. It's one of those Godzilla films that does have a lasting impression on you, for the simple fact that it is the final film of the illustrious, amazing Showa Godzilla film series, even though it wasn't designed to be. And it goes back to what I've said before. Sometimes the unintended result, sometimes is the best result. So, because after this film, they tried to get some Godzilla scripts off the ground. They really did, between this film and '84, but they were unsuccessful. So, by default, this film earned the designation of being the last Godzilla film from the Showa series. And I think it could end on a better note. You know, it has Godzilla in a very heroic role, which is kind of like how he was the majority of the Showa series. He was more so of an anti-hero, more so than a villain. You know, he combats Godzilla-like creature like himself, Mechagodzilla. He fights a more realistic kaiju like Titanosaurus. It involves aliens and using monsters to take over the world. Everything that we have come to know and love about the Showa series is encompassed in this film. And the fact that it does take on a darker tone, which is kind of like a contrast of the previous campy, fun 70s films, makes it like a really, really good point for the Showa series to end on, you know? So that's why it's one of the reasons why I love this film so much. Even though I will tell you some other reasons why I love this film in a few seconds. But that was my first exposure to Mechagodzilla. You know, it's just an amazing film. Now, here are a few reasons why I love this film. Let's first start off with the music. Yes, this is one of Akira Ifukube's best scores, and it's kind of ironic that, you know, he came back for this film, because he had not scored, to my knowledge, an original Godzilla film since Destroy All Monsters, I believe. Now they did use his music in 1972's Godzilla vs. Gigan, but most of that was really stop music. It was music that was used that he scored for other films, like Frankenstein Conquers the World, King Kong Escapes, Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, Mothra vs. Godzilla. So majority of that was stop music. Now I don't know if he did make any original music for Gigan. I don't think he did. So the last original score that he made, of music that he scored, was from Destroy All Monsters 7 years earlier. And which that was supposed to be the last Godzilla film, you know. But I'm glad that they were able to bring him back for this score of this movie. And I love the main theme, because it basically incorporates each theme of each monster. Where you have Godzilla, ba 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 ba. Then you have Titanosaurus theme, da 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 da. Yeah. Then you have Mechagodzilla's theme, ba 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 ba. And all that is weaved into one solid main theme. That's like my favorite piece of music from this film, the title theme, that it has basically every theme of each monster weaved into one epic piece of music. And I love that. I really do. I also love how they brought back Inoshiro Honda for this film, even though I don't really know why he came back, you know. And of course, there's speculation out there that maybe he wanted to come back, I guess, to maybe end his career on a high note. But far as I know, I don't know a definitive answer why he chose to come back for this film, considering the fact that he really wasn't fine over the fact that that Godzilla is now a kid-friendly superhero at this stage in the franchise. You know, he wasn't really too fond of that. He felt that nothing comedic purposes should be related to the monsters. So, but I am glad that he finally came back for this film, you know, and the fact that it is the last Godzilla film from the Showa series, and considering he was the one that scored that directed the first Godzilla film in Godzilla 1954, you know, whatever. I think it kind of it ends things on like a great note and has everything come full circle. That's why in this film, if you notice, the film has somewhat of a darker, somber tone, you know, especially at the end when Katsura dies, you know, whatever. It has that somewhat of a tone that you would expect Inoshiro Honda to put on his films, you know. So I like how he tried to bring it back, where he did incorporate some great stuff like that we have seen in the previous 70s films, but he kind of put up a little darker tone on it to try to bring everything back to a certain level where everything can even out. And I think he did a great job. Also about the music, which is one thing I don't really see a lot of folks talking about. In the beginning of the film, you know, they recap the previous events of Godzilla's Mechagodzilla 1974, since this film is a sequel to that film, right? But I love the music also for another great thing. When they play snippets of, or at least moments of the previous film with Godzilla and Mechagodzilla fighting or whatever, they play that awesome Akira Ifukube music that he scored for Mechagodzilla over that footage. So it kind of gives off like a different take, because in the previous film, you know, we had that jazzy, funky, you know, kind of unorthodox music that they put in that film. Music that you probably wouldn't think would be relegated to a Godzilla film. But when you see the same footage mixed in with the Akira Ifukube's music, it kind of gives it a more of an epic feel. You know what I mean? Like, for example, watch Godzilla's Mechagodzilla 1974, especially the end fight, right? And watch it with that jazzy, funky music, right? And then watch the beginning of Mechagodzilla with that Akira Ifukube music, and just see there's a big difference. You know, even though both, you know, they're awesome, you know, whatever, both pieces of music are awesome, but to me, it kind of has a more of an epic feel with the Ifukube's music behind it, behind the footage of 1974. So that's what I also love about that. I also love the story. I also love the story about this. Love the story involved in this film, and I love how the film is really structured. You know, where basically it has a long exposition and long human story, and the kaiju action doesn't happen till like the third act, and everything is like one big giant basically fight scene towards the tail end. And I like that, you know, even though I prefer 1974, between the two films, I actually like 74 a little bit better. But that's because they splice Godzilla action throughout the film. He's introduced early on. We see him fight, or at least, you know, some form of Godzilla. We see, even though he's the imposter, even though it's Mechagodzilla disguised as the real Godzilla, we see him destroy the Earth, destroy the oil refinery until the real Godzilla shows up. We see him fight Angus or whatever. So that's kaiju action throughout the film. But in this film, you have to wait until the tail end, at least the third act, for any kind of monster action. And you know what? I'm fine with that. You know, I'm actually cool with that. This film made me appreciate other Godzilla films, like Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. You know, those films have a long human story, and the kaiju action doesn't happen until the very end. Like 2014, Godzilla 2014. This film made me appreciate 2014 because of the long story and because of the fact that we get, you know, some of a snippet of a final battle of a battle. Then we have an elongated, great final battle. Yes, this film, it was like a prototype that made me appreciate other Godzilla films, whether it came before it, came after it, that used that structure of having a long human story and everything saved for the tail end as far as like kaiju action. I really do enjoy that. Now let's go with the monsters. Now let's talk about, Titanosaurus. Let's talk about Titanosaurus first. One thing I love about Titanosaurus, to me, he's like the breakout star of this film, despite the film being titled after Mechagodzilla. I like his appearance better in this one versus King Caesar's in the previous film. I think he was utilized better. Titanosaurus I'm talking about, he's utilized better in this film. If you really think about it, the movie's kind of based around him, at least until the Mechagodzilla and Godzilla action comes in later on. So the movie is kind of based around him and Katsura and the Doctor, and I really do enjoy that. And I like, with the previous 70s films, with the previous 70s monsters, how they're more outlandish monsters from what we have seen in the 60s, where you have you know, a powerful pollution monster with Hedra that has all these array of powers. You know, you have that space cyborg, Gigan, you know, you have Megalon, you have Mechagodzilla from the previous film. You have all these outlandish kaijus from the 70s, but in this film, I'm glad that they were able to bring it back to a more realistic kaiju, more dinosaurian kaiju. Kaijus are what we saw like in the 50s, you know, normal kaijus, but yet they're like super dinosaurs in a way, you know, where you have the original Godzilla, Anguirus, Varan, Rodan, you know, whatever. So I'm glad at the, you know, with the final film of the Showa series, you know, in this film, they were able to bring back a kaiju that doesn't have any powers, but yet he's really, really intimidating. He's really a good fighter, and he does have a magnificent presence. Even though I have to say, I do find him a little bit funny, especially at the attack scene when him and Mechagodzilla are attacking the city before Godzilla pops up out of nowhere. Mechagodzilla, you know, does his thing, you know, destroying the city with his weapons or whatever, and then Titanosaurus steps forward and it's like, he does this like this Mortal Kombat type of thing, and I'm thinking when I first watch him, like, oh, okay, he's gonna bust out a new power. What is he gonna bust out? Electricity bolts from his antennas? Is he gonna blow fire from his mouth? Is he gonna I don't know what he's gonna do, but he act like he's gonna do something like awesome, and all he does, he just turns around and just wags his tail like, and I'm sitting there like, huh. Oh, so he basically doing what Rodan does. But I have to give it to him. You know, that was really an awesome power. It made Godzilla, it kept Godzilla away, you know, for a little bit when Godzilla shows up, so I found that a little bit funny. But Titanosaurus, an awesome kaiju, and he does provide most of the fighting between him and Mechagodzilla, you know, in the final fight against Godzilla. Mechagodzilla mostly just stand back and watches, which is something I don't really appreciate, but it made me appreciate Titanosaurus even more, you know. Let's go with Mechagodzilla. Yes, the kaiju of the hour, like I said, he's the focus of the film. He's the villain, you know, the movie's titled after him. But once again, I just felt he was underutilized in this film. Now, had this been the Mechagodzilla from the previous film, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Godzilla would have been able to survive this attack. If both these monsters attack in unison, there's no way Godzilla would have been able to survive or been able to pull through. Because think about it, in the previous film, Godzilla and King Caesar was barely able to escape by Mechagodzilla in the previous film. For the majority of the fight, Mechagodzilla was able to keep two monsters at bay until the numbers game got, you know, took advantage of them. This time the tables are turned, and now it's a 2-on-1 situation against Godzilla, where Mechagodzilla has backup in Titanosaurus. You would think, from storyline purposes, that they should be able to take care of Godzilla, you know, without any issues. But they were able to downgrade Mechagodzilla's capabilities in a way, you know, for storyline purposes, and it made Titanosaurus, you know, really the more impressive of the two. But at the same time, it was fun to see Mechagodzilla finally in a city situation, destroying the world, destroying buildings with his weapons. Now, mind you, we didn't see that in the previous film. We didn't see that in 1974. You know, now because, you know, we already know that once Mechagodzilla is revealed, you know, he malfunctions after Godzilla tries to stop him, and then he goes away. And then at the final battle, you know, it's in Okinawa. It's not in a city situation, right? So I'm glad they were able to put Mechagodzilla in the city situation where you see people running from him, as well as Titanosaurus, him destroy buildings with his weapons, you know, whatever. So I really do enjoy that about Mechagodzilla, even though I'm not too impressed with his performance, but at the same time, that was all by design. That was all by design to give Godzilla more of a fighting chance for him to save the world. Now, let's go to Godzilla, the king of the monsters. Yes. Besides the fact that I love it's a variation, one of my favorite suits of '74, somehow, some way, they were able to make him look a little bit meaner, and I like that. You know, they did it before in 1965. You know, with the Monster Zero suit, and then they used that same suit in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. And I had this conversation with Eric Anderson a couple days ago. I hope you're watching, my man. But for some strange reason, in 65 and 66, they were able to make him look meaner in 66, which is why I prefer the 66 suit over the 65 before he looks all drugged out. You know what I'm talking about in Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. They did the same thing here between the 74 and 75. I think they changed the brow where he gives off more of a meaner look. Now, he still has that heroic type of look, you know, with his body and the dorsal plates or whatever, but that look that says, you know what, I'm coming to save the world, but I'm not coming to shake hands and kiss babies. I'm coming to kick butt, I'm coming to kick butt, take names, and leave. And I like that. I love that look of Godzilla in this film. And one of the other things that I love about Godzilla in this film, you got to admire his toughness in this film. And which is one of the reasons why I love the 70s films. Despite the fact that, you know, you can call them goofy, cheesy, you know, kind of moronic, I guess. But I make no bones about the fact that the 70s films is my favorite films of Godzilla ever in the franchise. You know, I could pop any one of these 70s films in and have a great time. But what I also love about the 70s films is the fact that pretty much in the 60s, Godzilla pretty much ran through all his opposition, with the exception of King Kong and Mothra. He ran through all his opposition without any trouble. You know, it's like when I watch Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster, I'm like, okay, I don't feel threatened that Godzilla's gonna lose. Or when I watch Son of Godzilla, I'm like, I don't see how a spider or 3 giant mantises can take down Godzilla. But with each of the 70s films, they presented a story where it made you question if Godzilla was gonna be able to be victorious, you know, whatever. And I like that, especially in this film. Once again, like I said, In the previous film, Godzilla had backup to take down Mechagodzilla. This time the tables will turn, and now it's a 2-on-1 situation against Godzilla. And Godzilla gets his butt handed to him on multiple occasions, where he's getting kicked like a football twice by a Titanosaurus, whether he's being buried alive, where he gets, you know, all that onslaught of Mechagodzilla's weapons. Even the suit got caught on fire. But, you know, Godzilla's toughness, he just perseveres, he keeps going, and he doesn't stop till he makes sure that both Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla are taken down. One of my favorite moments, really, is when after Godzilla is buried alive and he pops up, you know, whatever, while the helicopter is busy keeping Titanosaurus away. And Mechagodzilla is firing all his weapons at him, and Godzilla is still fighting to get to him. Like I said, even at the point where at one point the suit got caught on fire. Then once Godzilla gets up close to Mechagodzilla, Godzilla is just punching like, I love that moment. I really do love that moment, you know. So there's so much to love about Godzilla in this film. Also, his entrance, oh my God. I almost forgot about that. I couldn't forget about that. This is like one of my favorite entrances ever in a Godzilla film. The fact that he just pops up out of nowhere. Yes, Godzilla does not show up until 48 minutes or 47 minutes into the movie. He's not mentioned maybe once or twice, but there's not one sign of Godzilla with the exception of the recap of the previous film in the beginning. But we don't see, hear, or anybody talk about Godzilla maybe once or twice until he shows up at the end to fight Titanosaurus. And I like that. I like how they kept Godzilla's appearance. They held it off as long as they could to build it up of when he does show up. So I really do enjoy that. And one of the last things I love about this movie is the fact that, once again, I believe that this is such a fine note for the Showa series to go out. You know, with Godzilla, you know, taking down both Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus, and the fact that the last image that we see of Godzilla with that great music of Akira Ifukube playing as Godzilla wades out into the ocean, he goes out to sea and disappears. Once again, I think it's a great moment, and really a full circle moment, because in the beginning, in the first film of the Showa series, Godzilla, you know, that was a film where Godzilla first appears. Now in this film, the last moment that we see from this film, which turned out to be the last film of the Showa series, is Godzilla going away, and then Godzilla disappearing into the ocean. I love that. And I don't know about you, but when I watch, and I know I said this before in my review of the 1975 Godzilla S Plus figure, that when that music plays and we see Godzilla roar and we see him go out to the ocean and disappear, and we hear that music, I don't know about y'all, but when I hear that music and see Godzilla go out into the ocean, I just get random fragments or random moments that pop into my brain, iconic moments from the Showa series. I don't know why. When that music hits and I see Godzilla go away, I just get random images. It could be random images of anything, really. Maybe him flying in Hedra, him going to Planet X to fight King Ghidorah Rodan, him fighting Kong on the slopes of Mount Fuji, him attacking Tokyo in 54, you know, him fighting Mothra in 64, you know, him fighting the Kamacuras in 67, or all the monsters ganging up on King Ghidorah in 1968. Just random moments just pop into my brain, because it finally dawns on me at that moment that this was it. This was the last of the Showa series. And say what you will about the Showa series, that they're goofy, that they're cheesy, that they're, you know, less serious, you know, that they don't do the character Godzilla justice towards the 70s film. Say what you will about all that, and there's a case can be made for those arguments, and I can understand that. But for me, this movie encompasses why I love the Showa series so much. Outlandish monster battles, you know, Godzilla at his heroic best, great music by the master Akira Ifukube, awesome, brilliant direction from Inoshiro Honda, possibly the best Godzilla director ever in the franchise. And the fact that you have aliens and the plot of aliens using monsters to take over the world, everything we have loved and we come to know about the Showa series is encompassed in this film, and it gives the Showa series a great note to go out of. You know what I mean? Before they bring in the Heisei and the Millennium series, you know. So that's why I love this film so much, you know. I know I've been really talkative for the past like 30 minutes, but there's so much to love about this film. And also one last thing to love about this film. This is one of the films, at least for me, I don't speak for me, hopefully I speak for other people out there that do like this film and love this film. There's one of those films that if you watch it now and don't watch it again for like another year, it's one of those great films that is great to come back to. You know what I mean? Like, even on demand, or if I watch it on Blu-ray, it's one of those films that to me gets better and better and better as you watch it. Not many Godzilla films, in my opinion, can do that. Or have that lasting impression that it gets better and better with age. You know, some films get worse with age, you know, with new technology, as far as movies, you know, whatever. And some, when you go back and watch some Godzilla films, some of the special effects may look dated or whatever. But with this film, to me, it just keeps better. It keeps getting better and better and better. And for the significance of being the last Godzilla film of the Showa film series, makes it that more enjoyable and that more important. You know what I mean? So, yes, if you can, try and track the film down, you know, whether it's on eBay or Amazon or even if it's on demand. Because I know some of these Godzilla films are on demand right now, I think on the Stars channel. And, you know, just check it out and just enjoy it and just realize that, yes, this is a great, 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 great film. And it's one of the best Godzilla films in the franchise. And it's a great, great note to end the awesome and illustrious series of the Showa series of Godzilla. You know what I mean? So that pretty much concludes my review, or at least my review of X Plus setups devoted to the entire lineup of this awesome Kaiju film, 1975's Terror of Mechagodzilla with the X Plus 30cm Godzilla 1975, the X Plus 30cm Mechagodzilla 1975, Ric, as well as the X Plus 30cm Titanosaurus. If you have any questions, holler me down in the comment section or hit me up on Facebook via Leslie P. Chambers. We'll definitely go from there. Yes, this is awesome. Yes. And there are more X Plus setup videos coming. I have a couple more in the pipeline. I have a couple more ideas I want to get off the ground as far as that. So trust me, you have not seen the last of X Plus setup, you know. And I hope you enjoyed those videos moving forward. But as far as reviews I got coming up, I got the X Plus 25cm Ric Boy set Space Godzilla and Little Godzilla. I got to do the Gamera 1995 RMC. The Sakai Shin 30cm Ric. That's on its way. So trust me, there's a lot of content coming on the channel. And recently I did a live stream with the one and only Richard Iso from Fresh Vinyl. We had a great, 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 great time. And we're going to be doing another fresh, not fresh, but it is going to be fresh because he's going to be a part of it. We're going to be doing another live stream coming up real soon. I want to say November 17th. In just like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, where the topic is Team 62 or Team 64. Which team are you on? Which Godzilla do you prefer? The King Goji from King Kong vs. Godzilla, or the Mosu Goji from Mothra vs. Godzilla? I'm gonna have a panel together. I'm gonna reach out to some folks and get some people together, and we're gonna have a discussion. Gonna have a debate on which Godzilla is better, 62 or 64. So stay tuned for that. As far as these figures are out there to a certain extent. You may have to hunt them down, and like I always say, don't go overboard with the investment. You know, try and get them for a good price. Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla, as I said earlier, have been reissued through Diamond. Godzilla has not. Godzilla at the time of this recording has not been reissued through Diamond, but they pretty much have done all the other 30cm Godzillas to a certain extent. So I don't see no reason why they wouldn't do this one. You know, but as I know, like I said, the hobby's going to get hotter and hotter and hotter with the incoming legendary Godzilla films and possibly what Toho may bring to us on top of that. So I think at some point, Diamond distributors will get their hands on the 75 Godzilla 30cm and reissue him. And if and when they do, please get your hands on either him or all three of these figures. Either way, you cannot go wrong with any one of these figures from this epic lineup, from this epic movie, 1975's Terror of Mechagodzilla. Alright? So I thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all again on the next figure and move review. Alright? Y'all take it easy.